Good evening, welcome to the Goffstown Sewer Commission meeting. This is our regular scheduled meeting. Second Tuesday of the month. We'll begin with a roll call, starting with Corey White.
Corey White, Sewer Superintendent.
Keith Canton, Assistant Sewer Foreman.
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary.
Dave Pierce, Commissioner.
Tim Redmond, Commissioner.
Daniel Taylor, Commissioner.
Jim Craig, Select Board Rep.
Welcome back, Jim. First order of business is public comment. Is anyone here for public comment this evening? Okay, so there is no one here. For the record, there is no public comment. Approval of the minutes of March the 11th.
A motion to approve the March 11th minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Jim. Lynn, did a good job.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion passes. Lynn, we have no new business listed for this evening?
Nope.
Okay. We'll go back to our old business then. We have Corey White is going to fill us in on the monthly emergency calls.
The only call was for an emergency dig safe this past Sunday.
Good. No sewer emergencies?
Nope.
Don't want to knock on wood, spoil it. Any questions for Corey regarding the emergency calls? Didn't we have to make a formal vote on something here that we haven't completed?
You were going to write up an emergency policy.
Right, and I neglected to do that, so I will make a note to get it done for our next meeting. We also asked Corey to look into getting the irrigation system at East Union Pump Station repaired, so it was operational. I'll have Corey report on that, please.
So far I've only gotten one price back. I should have two more by the end of this week. Landscapers, I guess this is their busy season.
All right. We will discuss the prices and where it will go into. Could you bring a budget line recommendation when you come back with the numbers, when you come back, please, where you can fit it into your budget? Any questions for Corey on the irrigation bids that are not all here yet?
Corey, what kind of instructions did you give the firms bidding? They have an area that they have to provide lines to?
So I walked the property with each person that has looked at it and showed them what was there prior and what would need to be basically done. And where the limits to what the old was and where we would extend to.
So they know where the pipe comes out of the building?
Yes, it's well marked. Keith and I actually dug it up in the fall to remark it.
Tim, I would suspect any firm would not want to use old piping. They wouldn't find it reliable.
I think that's what we told us at the last meeting, that the old piping was going to be not reused. And when the driveway was repaved and the gates were reinstalled and the work was done on the pump station there, probably 5 years ago, something like that maybe.
Yeah. Yep.
The contractor put a sleeve under the driveways from the irrigation pipe at the building, so we won't have to cut the asphalt to install the new system. They have access directly to the building via a sleeve that was installed, as I remember.
That's correct.
Any other questions for Corey? Okay, next old business is mercury levels. I'll turn the chair floor over to Dave, please.
Turn your attention to the handout that says Manchester in the middle of it. That's an email I got from the test manager at Manchester Treatment Facility. And he says the St. Anselm's, okay, what led to this testing is that there were 2 prior samplings that the laboratory messed up on, and therefore there was not any very recent results. They usually do the testing once a quarter, and so they've lost 2 quarters of data due to an error at the testing lab. So he went out on the 28th of March and did testing at both metering pits. St. Anselm's was, you see, 0.05 milligrams per liter, which was twice the allowable limits of 0.023. Whereas the Gulfstown metering pit was 4 thousandths under that limit.
Dave, can you tell us where the two metering pits are in relation to each other? The St. A metering station and the Goffstown metering stations. Are they both on campus, or are they two different locations in our system?
There's two different locations. The St. A's metering pit is at the corner of St. A's Drive and Rockland Ave.
Okay?
And the Manchester metering station is, it's technically Byron Street, where right before you go over the Kelly Street Bridge, you have that apartment complex. It's actually down behind that on the rail trail.
So the supposed determination is that it is actually coming from St. A's and not coming from our town system.
Yes, the results here are from both.
The Manchester station was in the allowable level, barely. And the St. A's level was twice as what it should be.
So at the bottom of this handout, I pasted in a result that I have from a handout last October, so June of '24. You see the result is almost 6 times the limit, 5 or 6 times the limit at 0.12. And then this most recent testing on the 28th of March was twice the limit.
So it's
And
dropped.
this email specifically says that the Manchester Treatment Facility requests our sewer department formally look into the high mercury coming out of the St. Anselm's campus.
All right, I'd like to discuss this with everyone here at the table tonight, how we were going to achieve this.
The second handout along that line is a recommendation from Manchester of 2 laboratories that do testing of samples. Effectively, both of them, you fill jars and mail them in, and then they do the testing and provide the results.
Well, my question for the commissioners and for our rest of our members here this evening is, should we instruct our employees to collect samples, or should we instruct the college to collect samples, because it is technically their collection system, not our collection system?
Correct.
I would ask the other commissioners for their opinion on this and how we would move forward.
Yes.
I would think St. A's would probably want to test it themselves anyways, just to,
Double check.
yeah.
And would you want them to conduct their testing and report back to us?
Well, yeah. So if we're going to put the burden on St. Anselm's through a formal letter and give them X amount of months to do a series of testing as the flow goes upstream and try to narrow it down to which building it might be occurring in, perhaps they know internally what might have changed prior to June 24 in some internal practice that they have that they might more quickly lead them to what building now.
And I would think that we would instruct Corey to take the lead on this and be our lead person to talk with them, be with them when they're sampling, but they would pick the sample sites and collect the samples.
Yeah, if we were to do the testing, obviously we would need, permission from them to probably enter their property for testing.
We also would want them to select the locations for testing and such so that we can try to figure out within their systems how they're going to identify a building's individual sewerage outflow versus after it's gone into the collection system. How do you break it down later?
Yeah.
which
trace
will
it
be up to
back.
them, because they have their maps and they have their manhole locations. I'm
Yeah, they
sure.
have a big map in their utility building there on Sands Drive.
Well, I would suggest that we authorize the secretary to draft a letter to St. Anselm College, facility director, whoever's in charge of all this, that we require, excuse me, Lynn, based on the metering pit data as provided by the Manchester Department of Public Works, that we require them to conduct sampling in conjunction with the sewer department representatives.
Okay.
To attempt to identify the point source, or sources, plural, of the mercury contamination within their system.
And take corrective action.
That, we have to, yeah, we identify it, yeah. Sewer department will provide 2 available laboratories for their consideration. And we will require that all test results be shared with the sewer department representative. And we would appreciate your prompt consideration of this matter. You can thank respectfully submitted from the sewer commissioners, Goffstown sewer commissioners. And put all 3 of our names on the bottom of the letter, please.
Okay.
And I don't think it needs a signature, but should we need one, I'll stop in and sign it.
Okay. I
Um,
think it does.
Basically, I would like you, when you send them the letter,
Mhm.
would you please send them copies of both of these documents, so they
Yep.
have copies of it? You can actually have mine if you, or you have more.
No, I just, this is one group of data, that's another group of data.
Okay.
They'll figure it out. Corey can explain it to them if they have any questions.
And can you put my contact info in that as well?
Yep.
Why don't you copy that letter to Corey
Yeah.
before you send it,
I will.
and then he can make sure everything's in there that's necessary. If you need to change any of the wording, please just
Yeah, I will.
just tune it up a little
Yeah.
bit. I just was trying to give you
Yeah,
the
thank you.
crux of the information I
Yeah.
think should be required.
I got it.
Any other questions or,
Yeah, I have a question. Does that cause damage to the system or anything?
I think it's the fact that it's a volatile chemical that is considered hazardous within their system. So they have to treat the water now and release it into the river. So they have to can treat it for mercury as well, and mercury, which is above levels within their system, basically.
The biggest problem with mercury is it kills the fish in the river.
Fish?
Yeah.
But they take it out of the plant though?
Mhm.
They treat for it, and they don't,
Yeah.
obviously, we're not supposed to send them levels above allowable levels. And then it's up to us to determine the point source, and get the bad actor to clean their act up at their end and not require Manchester to
So
take care of it.
everybody in the system has to test to make sure.
Well, this is strictly coming from the campus at this point.
Right, no, but I mean, normally the whole system is tested
Yes.
Well,
to for mercury
Mhm.
and then,
We have 2 sampling pits, one from the town and one from the campus directly. So if it was from the town side, it'd be our obligation to try to determine where it's coming from. And that means we'd start going upstream in our manholes and try to figure out where it's not, and then come back down and try to find out where it's coming from.
Does the plant send bills out for having to?
I don't believe we've been billed for it yet, but I think that our quick action is going to be appreciated by them, and hopefully it won't result in any fines or additional charges. We haven't heard that yet, so I don't want to suggest it.
Thanks.
Yes.
Smart.
There's quite a few rules in our 10-year agreement on how they determine the cost for treatment. And I'm sure buried in the fine print might be contamination removal.
That's better they don't know about.
Under old business, anything else on mercury levels before I add another old business item?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Any other business on old business? Okay. Mike Trank called me tonight because he can't be here because he has diverticulitis and he's not feeling well and he's home. I asked him if he had any reports for us, and he said not really, but I did ask him about the Cross Street and survey project down there in the area, and he told me that they had started to look into it, but they realized they're going to need some more information before they can get a surveyor to go out there and start pricing it for us. So I asked him to keep working on it, and I also said that I had been consulting with the town engineer, and he is going to continue to request that Cross Street be added to next year's road plan so that we can actually do the construction, even though they had a lower than expected budget this year from one of the warrant articles, but that's a paving article, it's not other stuff, so hopefully it'll stay in the queue and we'll be able to do it, but at least we'll have the engineering ready. Okay? So that's all Mike wanted.
Does that mean there won't be some sort of a $400,000, $500,000 project this summer?
Well, we talked about that, Dave, by trying to split that money up into smaller projects at our last meeting, to divide that capital reserve money that was set aside for this year to be broken up into several small projects.
The reason I bring that up is now that we're on our own budget before the voters, it behooves us to have a constant level of projects each year, because if heaven forbid, if we have a project where we don't do $400,000, then the default budget for the following year would be substantially less.
Yeah, but once again, we are an enterprise fund and we
Yeah.
can make our adjustments within our own
Yes,
work in the course of a year.
to keep the transparency at the whole same level, it helps.
The only thing that this commission will have to make a long-term decision on is if DPW continues to kick the can down the road in the flats, are we going to be willing to pay for all the paving down there if we tear the street up without the drainage being done? So I am going to continue to work with the DPW, and if we have a problem in the year '26 meeting our goals, then I may have to go directly to the Board of Selectmen, or we may have to go to the Board of Selectmen and ask for some assistance and guidance from the Board of Selectmen on how we should be budgeting for this stuff.
Yeah, because in reality, so the road is typically, the cost of replacing the road is typically shared by all taxpayers in the town
Right.
versus just the sewer rate payers.
Only on the sewer ratepayers when we do a major sewer construction in conjunction with
Right.
a drainage project on that street.
Right,
We agree to split the paving with the town.
right. So it's
And that's been the practice for
not
many
necessarily
years
fair
that they've
if
been doing it.
in the future we become responsible for the entire cost.
The only good thing we have, and Corey has identified it to us, is that we are at the end of the major construction replacement schedule. We had about 5 to 7 years worth of work left, and every time we whittle another year off of that, the list keeps getting shorter, and from there, then it's major reconstruction is not one of our major construction costs every year. It's more going to be into repairs and linings and manhole replacements and different point repairs versus system, a complete system repair. And, I mean, I'll let Corey just briefly tell the public why we would typically change a complete sewer line.
We change complete sewer lines because when we inspect them, you find that the pipes that were put in back in the 50s are clay pipes, and a lot of them fail. Especially they're short sections and they're not level anymore, so the effluent doesn't flow properly through the pipes, and it causes backups because the pipes aren't true anymore.
So being a 2-foot pipe can easily settle on a joint and deflect on a joint, whereas a 13-foot pipe that's gasket and bell, they don't deflect. You can stand on them and they don't deflect, but if you have a bell and spigot clay pipe and you step on it and it's sand under it, it's going to press down and deflect the joint and create a low spot, and that's when the clog gets caught in the low spot. So we're near the end of our process, but once again, it'd be nice if we can continue with the Public Works Department on large projects and co-share the cost of the paving, because that's an expensive part of it. And replacement of all the gravel in the road as well. And then they do the drainage part themselves, and that's when we have. Plus, we also dig up a neighborhood one time, Jim. If you go into a project and you dig the neighborhood up and you do both the drainage and the sewer in one fell swoop, the neighborhood doesn't have a year and a half of construction from us and then another year and a half of construction from another entity. It gets all done in one pass. Right. We have two other business as warranted items that I have written down. Maybe some other guys have something written in, but I'll start with mine. The first item I'd like to discuss would be the St. A process procedures for dealing with St. A's. Lynn recently contacted me because she had a call from Bill Furlong. He asked her to have me, as a chair, call down at the college and talk with them. So I called Bill. And basically, Bill wanted to affirm that any dealings with St. A's was done via the office. The commissioners would make a request for any information from St. A's, and then Lynn would formally send them letters and such to make requests, and then they could respond back to the commissioners. And I guess recently, you might have been down there, Dave, to ask, and he was...
I followed up on the agreement.
Yeah, and he was, he just wanted to make sure that when he does speak to the commission, he's speaking to all the commissioners as a group publicly, not to individual commissioners for that type of request. So that's the process, procedure I would like to make sure that we follow in the future, and we will move forward from that. The other thing was, it is a new year, and generally we have election of officers for this commission, and I did not want to just bypass that, as it's a matter of procedure that we have our election of officers annually. So at this time, I think the floor would be open for nominations for chair and vice chair.
I'm open if you wish to nominate. But leave that up to Dan or Chair.
Well, sharing the chair is generally been procedural for a lot of boards and commissions. The sewer commission has sort of been the white rabbit. I know that when I was a regular member here, Jim Bouchard seemed like he was the chair for about 10 years. And then when Steve Green was the chair, he was chair for a long time. I've been chair for a long time, and I'm happy to do it, but I don't want to assume that the chair is mine until I die. So if anybody else wishes to be the chair, we should just recognize that person and take a vote on it.
I'm in the running.
Okay? Daniel, are you interested in being the chair?
I would be open to it.
Okay. So we have,
The only other discussion from my point is my term is up next March.
mhm.
So you're up next March and I'm up after
Yeah,
that.
after that. I just got a 3-year term. So, I think if we consider that Dave would like to be the chair this time, because he has 1 more year on his term, I will nominate Dave for chair. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor of Dave becoming the chair, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'd like to nominate Daniel to be the vice chair. Continue as vice chair.
Yep, I'll second that.
Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion passes. So starting from this point forward on this meeting, Dave, you are now the chair. The meeting is yours, sir.
Okay.
Not much left, but
Have you, fellow commissioners, concluded your other business?
I don't have anything else. I didn't know if anybody else had other business tonight.
There was something mentioned, it was like a month ago. Potentially, and I can't remember if we talked about it in the meeting, but potential sewer permit fee increases.
Where are we with that, Corey?
But
Sewer permit fees?
the fee right now is $50.
We're not really seeing a large number of
Requests?
requests, are we?
No.
They're not a revenue producer for us. They're be bothered by the fees remaining the same.
They're not a big revenue.
And we want to encourage people
Yeah.
to take the permits out before they modify something on their property.
Yep, that's fine.
Well,
I
in,
just had it written down.
in conjunction with that, I got a question about drain layers licenses. In my recollection, back when I used to maintain my drain layers license, it was a requirement that you renew it every year or you lose it. And now we seem to have gone to the process that people are not renewing their drain layers license. They're only coming in and getting one when they have to do a project in town. And they're avoiding maintaining their license. I think we need to have a policy, a new policy on that, that if you don't renew your license in a timely fashion, that you start the process all over again with an application or something. Do we have an application fee for a drain layers license?
$10.
What is the fee, application fee?
It's $10.
And what's the renewal fee?
$10.
So there's
So I think
no
we should-
incentive to renew.
No.
Yeah.
I think we should consider amending our sewer ordinance that something like for the privilege of having a drain layers license in our town, that it's a $50 fee or something, this is discussion, for an application to get a license. At which time you're checked out, and if you passed to the superintendent's qualifications, then it costs you $10 a year to renew it. But failure to renew means you start over again.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's
So-
how most licenses,
So
professional
I would think that we would
licenses
want to
work.
craft something for our next meeting to vote on, Corey, based on what we just had a discussion about. You could bring the application license with you, or the application form. Maybe we could mark one up and vote on it, and then we can,
How do we change our sewer use ordinance? I thought that was a big
Is that,
deal last time with Mike.
is that licensing in the sewer use ordinance?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Could you
yes.
look it up?
I'm pretty sure it is.
Is the price in the ordinance?
I don't
No,
think
it
so.
probably only says you have to maintain a sewer license or something.
I think it says you have to have one.
Yeah.
Lynn-
Fees are usually a separate
Right.
decision.
We can modify fees, Lynn, on a voice vote at a meeting.
Okay. No, I didn't know if the sewer use ordinance had something.
But I would
And-
say that we could give the opportunity for people who are delinquent at this time to renew their licenses on a last chance grandfather, but after that, it's all done. You know?
That leads to the question, Lynn, do you have a database of license holders?
I don't even do that. He
Corey,
I
does
have a
that.
list.
Thank you.
So,
But your process is good, Tim. Corey, you bring in what the application reads,
Yeah.
whether anything has to be modified by that.
Correct.
And in the next board, we can authorize them to then, if it's appropriate, send a letter out to all the sewer users, sewer license holders.
installers,
Do we have all their addresses and
Drain
everything?
layers.
drain layers license.
I can collect I have all their email addresses.
Would we want to put a list of licensed drain layers on our website for potential
That would be,
developers?
that would be good to have only because if someone called the sewer department and wanted to get a name of a licensed and drain layer, we wouldn't be recommending one person over another.
Right.
I recommend everybody in town. I won't actually say one specific name.
But we could, if as Daniel suggested, we publish the name of all licensed drain layers for the year 24, 25, or current drain layer holders, then we could say, you can refer to the list and check them out from our list.
That also provides an incentive for people to renew their license, because then they're listed as a licensed Goffstown drain layer, and people who need that service can just go to the website, look at the list.
And if you felt like contacting Manchester, Corey, and ask how they handle delinquent, what their policies are for keeping license renewed, we can,
I'm pretty sure it's a one and done, and then you have it.
it's a one and done forever?
In Manchester, yeah. Get it once.
Well, let's just figure it out and maybe we'll consider it that.
I'll call and double check with him, so I'm right on that.
Along that line is, as we reconsider this next session, is the license good for 1 year or 5 years, or like Manchester
Yeah.
forever?
Well, Corey can make a recommendation to us what he thinks. All right, anything
If
else?
these- Like Corey, if these firms applying for a license, if they're a registered New Hampshire business, then perhaps it would be suitable for a longer time, because, as a business, you're not going to cease and desist.
Correct.
However, Dave, the drain layers license are individuals, not companies. One company does not get a drain layer, it's individual members of the company have the drain layers licenses. It's personal, like a septic license or anything else.
And that's where we differ from Manchester too, because it covers your company.
Except that they require a bond, don't they, to be kept in place, and we don't do that, do we?
You have to have a bond.
Okay. Well, let's just, let you look into it and see what you think. All right.
How many are there? Just a ballpark. In Goffstown.
Companies that are licensed,
Licensed, yeah.
when they have a license, probably
30 to 50,
Six.
yeah.
6 companies that really do most of the work in town for sewers.
But there's lots of guys that used to maintain a drain layers license that are individual contractors. I used to maintain mine. In fact, I have you have my check.
So there's not
It's on my
hundreds of
desk.
them walking around Goffstown.
And another practice is that the drain layers licenses used to be brought to the commissioners for renewal when they were time, and the commissioners are supposed to, one of the commissioners, the chairman actually, is supposed to sign the bottom of the drain layers license for it to be valid. So we're gonna, maybe we can get back to that practice of you bringing them to the commission meetings, Corey, and the chair can sign them again like they used to.
Oh, having no other business to discuss, I'll once again offer for public comment session, but I see no one in the audience, so public comment is over.
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion?
All those on voting in favor?
Yay.
Aye.
All right.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.